Radio Cairo presents House of Mystrey. A program produced and directed by Tariq Sharara.
That night was one of those motionless, hot summer nights. The concrete pier empty. The strong red, white, yellow bulbs burning like insects in the air above the wooden emptiness. The managers of the various carnival pictures stood like melting wax dummies, eyes staring blindly, not talking, all down the line. 2 customers had passed through an hour before. Those 2 lonely people were now on the roller coaster, screaming murderously as it plummeted down the blazing night around one emptiness after another. I moved slowly across the Strand, a few worn hoopla rings sticking to my wet palms. I stopped behind the ticket booth that fronted the mirror maze. I saw myself grossly misinterpreted in 3 rippled mirrors outside the maze. 1,000 tired replicas of myself dissolved in the corridors behind, hot images among so much clear coolness. I stepped inside the ticket booth and stood looking a long while at Rolf Bankhart's thin neck. He clenched an unlit cigar between his long, uneven yellow teeth as he laid out a battered game of solitaire on the ticket shelf. When the roller coaster wailed and fell in its terrible avalanche again, I was reminded to speak.
What kind of people go up in roller coasters?
Oh, people want to die. That roller coaster's the handiest thing to die in there is. This whole damn carny business crazy. For instance, that dwarf. You seen him? Every night, pays his dime, runs in the mirror maze all the way through to Screwy Louis' room. You should see this little runthead back there. My God.
Oh, yeah. I always wonder what it's like to be a dwarf. I always feel sorry when I see him.
Oh, I could play him like an accordion.
Don't say that.
My lord, the way you carry on about guys you never even met. Him and his secret. Only he don't know I know, see? Boy, oh boy.
It's a hot night.
Don't change the subject. He'll be here, rain or shine. Hey, come back. Hey, you ain't mad. You want to see that dwarf, don't you? Shh, shh. Here he comes now.
The dwarf's hand, hairy and dark, appeared all by itself, reaching up into the booth window with a silver dime. An invisible person called, "One!" in a high, child's voice. I bent forward. The dwarf looked up at me, resembling nothing more than a dark-eyed, dark-haired, ugly man who's been locked in a wine press, squeezed and wadded down and down, fold on fold, agony on agony, until a bleached, outraged mass is left. A face bloated shapelessly. A face you know is stare wide-eyed and awake at 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, lying flat in a bed, only the body asleep.
1. Quick, quick. Let's follow him. This is rich. Go on. Look. See him?
There stood the dwarf in the middle of the small blue room. His eyes were shut. He wasn't ready to open them yet. Now he opened his eyelids and looked at a large mirror set before him. And what he saw in the mirror made him smile. He winked, he pirouetted, he stood sideways, he waved, he bowed, he did a little clumsy dance. And the mirror repeated each motion with a long, thin arms and a tall, tall body with a huge wink and an enormous repetition of the dance, ending in a gigantic bow.
Every night the same thing. Ain't that rich?
I turned my head and looked at Ralph steadily for a long time. I said nothing. Then, as if I couldn't help myself, I moved my head slowly and very slowly back to stare once more through the opening. I held my breath. I felt my eyes begin to water.
Hey, what's that little gink doing now?
We were drinking coffee and not looking at each other in the ticket booth half an hour later, when the dwarf came out of the mirrors. He took his hat off and started to approach the booth. Then he saw me and hurried away.
He wanted something.
Yeah, I know what too. But he hasn't got the nerve to ask. One night in this squeaky little voice he says, "I bet those mirrors are expensive." Well, I played dumb. I said, "Yeah, they were." He sort of looked at me, waited. And when I didn't say no more, he went home. But next night he said, I bet those mirrors cost 50 or $100. I bet they do, I said. And I laid me out a hand of solitaire.
Ralph,
Why are you looking at me that way?
Ralph, why don't you sell him one of your extra ones?
Look, Amy, do I tell you how to run your hoop circus?
Well, how much do those mirrors cost?
Well, I can get them secondhand for $35.
Well, why don't you tell him where he can buy one then?
Amy, you're not smart. Even if I told him where to go, you think he'd buy one? Huh, not on your life. And why? He's self-conscious. Why? If he even knew I knew he was flirting around in front of that mirror in Screwy Louie's room, he'd never come back. He plays like he's going through the maze to get lost, like everybody else. Pretends like he don't care about that special room. Always waits for business to turn bad, late nights, so he has that room to himself. God, what he does for an entertainment on nights when business is good, God knows. No, sir. No. He wouldn't dare go buy a mirror nowhere. Besides, he ain't got no friends. And even if he did, he couldn't ask them to buy him a thing like that. Pride. By God, pride. The only reason he even mentioned it to me is I'm practically the only guy he knows. Besides, look at him. He ain't got enough to buy a mirror like those. He might be saving up. But where in hell in the world today can a dwarf work? Huh, dime a dozen, drug on the market outside of circuses.
I feel awful. I feel sad. Where does he live?
Oh, I guess fly trap down the waterfront. The Ganges Arms. Why?
Well, I'm madly in love with him, if you must know.
Oh, Amy, you and your very funny jokes.
I came walking in the locked-up carnival alleys out over the warm sea, keeping in the shade, half a dozen sun-bleached magazines under my arm. I opened a flaking door and called into the hot darkness.
Ralph!
Amy? Hey, you look like the cat swallowed a canary.
Ralph, I came about the midget!
Dwarf, Amy, honey, dwarf. A midget's in the cells, born that way. A dwarf's in the gland.
Ralph, I just found out the most wonderful thing about him!
Honest to God, this woman. Who in hell gives 2 cents for some ugly little...
Ralph! He's a writer! Think of that!
It's a pretty hot day for thinking.
I just happened to pass the Ganges Arms and saw Mr. Greeley, the manager. He says a typewriter runs all night in Mr. Big's room.
Is that his name?
Writes just enough pulp detective stories to live. I found one of his stories in the second-hand magazine place. And, Ralph, guess what?
I'm tired, Amy.
This little guy's got a soul as big as all outdoors. He's got everything in his head.
So why ain't you writing for the big magazines then, I ask you?
Well, because maybe he's afraid. Or maybe he doesn't know he can do it. That happens. People don't believe in themselves. But if he only tried, why, I bet he could sell stories anywhere in the world.
Why ain't he rich, I wonder?
Maybe because ideas come slow, because he's down in the dumps. Well, who wouldn't be? So small that way. I bet it's hard to think of anything except being so small and living in a one-room cheap apartment.
Hell, Amy, you talk like Florence Nightingale's grandma.
I'll read you a part of this crime story. It's got all the guns and tough people, but it's told by a dwarf. Well, I bet the editor never guessed the author knew what he was talking about. Oh, please don't sit there like that, Ralph. Listen. I am a dwarf, and I am a murderer. The two things cannot be separated. One is the cause of the other. The man I murdered used to stop me on the street when I was 21, pick me up in his arms, kiss my brow, croon wildly to me, sing rock-a-bye baby, haul me into meat markets, toss me on the scales and cry, "Watch it! Don't weigh your thumb there, butcher!" Do you see how our lives move towards murder? This fool, this prosecutor of my flesh and soul. As for my childhood, my parents were small people. Not quite dwarfs. Not quite. My father's inheritance kept us in a doll's house, an amazing thing like a white scroll wedding cake. Little rooms, little chairs, miniature paintings, cameos, amber with insects caught inside. Everything tiny. Tiny, tiny. The world of giants far away, an ugly rumor beyond the garden wall. Poor Mama and Papa. They meant only the best for me. They kept me like a porcelain vase, small and treasured, to themselves. In our ant world, our beehive rooms, our microscopic library, our land of beetle-sized doors and moth windows. Only now do I see the magnificent side of my parents' psychosis. They must have dreamed they could live forever, keeping me like a butterfly under glass. But first, Father died. And then fire ate up the little house, the wasp's nest, and every postage stamp mirror and salt cellar closet within. Mama, too, gone. And myself, alone, watching the fallen embers, tossed out into a world of monsters and titans, caught in a landslide of reality, rushed, rolled, and smashed to the bottom of the cliff. It took me a year to adjust. A job with a sideshow was unthinkable. There seemed no place for me in the world. And then, a month ago, the prosecutor came into my life, clapped a bonnet on my unsuspecting head, and cried to friends, "I want you to meet the little woman." You finish it. The rest is a murder story. It's all right. But don't you see? That little man, that little man.
I like westerns better.
Ralph, you've got to read it. He needs someone to tell him how good he is and keep him writing.
And guess who's gonna do it? Well, ain't we just the Savior's right hand?
I won't listen!
Use your head, damn it! You go busting in on him, he'll think you're handing him pity. He'll chase you screaming out of his room.
I don't know. Oh, maybe you're right. Oh, it's not just pity, Ralph, honest. But, well, maybe it'd look like it to him. I've got to be awful careful.
Hell, lay off him is all I ask. You'll get nothing but trouble for your dough. God, Amy, I never seen you so hepped up on anything. Look, you and me, let's make it a day. Take a lunch, get us some gas, and just drive on down the coast so far as we can drive. Swim, have supper, see a good show in some little town. To hell with the carnival. How about it? A damn nice day and no worries. I've been saving a couple of bucks.
It's because I know he's different. It's because he's something we can never be. You and me and all the rest of us here on the pier. It's so funny. So funny. Life fixed him so he's good for nothing but carny shows, yet there he is on the land. And life made us so we wouldn't have to work in carny shows. But here we are, anyway, way out here at the sea on the pier. Sometimes it seems a million miles to shore. How come, Ralph, that we got the bodies and he's got the brains? We can think things we'll never even guess.
You haven't even been listening to me. I don't like that shrewd look you're getting on.
$40. There. I'm gonna phone Billy Fine and have him send out one of those tall-type mirrors to Mr. Bigelow at the Ganges Arms. Yes, I am. Think how wonderful for him, Ralph. Having one in his own room anytime he wants it. Oh, can I use your phone?
Go ahead. Be nutty. I'm having nothing to do with it.
I waited. Then, after a while, put my hand to the phone and began to dial with painful slowness. I paused between numbers, holding my breath, shutting my eyes, thinking how it might seem to be small in the world. And then, one day, someone sends a special mirror by. A mirror for your room, where you can hide away with a big reflection of yourself, shining and write stories and stories, never going out in the world unless you had to. How might it be then, alone with the wonderful illusion, all in one piece in the room? Would it make you happy or sad? Would it help your writing or hurt it? I shook my head back and forth, back and forth. At least this way there'd be no one to look down at you. Night after night, perhaps rising secretly at 3 in the cold morning, you would wink and dance around and smile and wave at yourself. So tall, so very fine and tall, all in the bright-looking glass.
Oh, Billy? Oh, look, I'm phoning from Ralph's place. Look, I want you to send me one of those mirrors, like a really tall one. Hi, Ralph.
How's the love affair? How's Charlie Boyer? Or is it Cary Grant?
I just went out and bought me a new hat. Gosh, I feel good. You know why? Well, Billy Fine's sending a new mirror out tomorrow. Can't you see the nice little guy's face?
I ain't so hot at imagining.
Oh, Lord, you think I was gonna marry him or something?
Well, why not? You could carry him around in a suitcase. People say, "Where's your husband?" All you do is open your bag, yell, "Here he is!" like a silver cornet. Take him out of his case anyhow, play a tune, stash him away, keep a little sandbox for him on the back porch.
And I was feeling so good.
Benevolent is the word. Benevolent. I suppose this all comes back from me watching him through that knothole getting my kicks. Know why you send the mirror? People like you run around with tambourines taking the joy out of my life.
Remind me not to come over to your place for drinks anymore. I'd rather go with no people at all than mean people.
Amy, don't you know you can't help that guy? He's bats. And this crazy thing of yours is like saying, "Go ahead, be batty. I'll help you, pal, be batty."
Once in a lifetime anyway. Well, it's nice to make a mistake if you think it'll do somebody some good.
God deliver me from do-gooders, Amy.
Oh, shut up! Shut up!
Why don't you just mind the booth for me?
Sure. Why?
I sat in the booth for a full minute, and then suddenly shivered. A small clock ticked in the booth, and I turned the deck of cards over, one by one, waiting. I heard a hammer pounding and knocking and pounding again far away, inside the maze. A silence. More waiting. And then 10,000 images folding and refolding and dissolving. Ralph striding, looking out at 10,000 images of me in the booth. I heard his quiet laughter as he came down the ramp.
Well, what's put you in such a good mood?
Amy, we shouldn't quarrel. You say tomorrow Billy's sending that mirror to Mr. Biggs?
You're not gonna try anything funny?
Me? Oh, not me. Oh, not me.
Ralph,
Amy, relax.
about that trip you wanted to take down the coast?
Oh, tomorrow. Oh, maybe next month. Maybe next year. Old Ralph Bankhardt's a patient guy. I'm not worried, Amy. Look at my hands. They're not trembling. I'm calm.
I just don't want you mad is all. I just don't want anything bad to happen. Promise me?
Waddling along the lonely concourse, under the insect bulbs, his face twisted and dark, every movement an effort. From a long way down the pier he came, with me watching. Oh, I wanted to say to him, "This is your last night. The last time you'll have to embarrass yourself by coming here. The last time you'll have to put up with being watched by Ralph, even in secret." I wished I could cry out and laugh and say it right in front of Ralph. But I said nothing.
Hello. It's free on the house tonight. Special for old customers.
The dwarf looked up, startled, his little black eyes darting and swimming in confusion. His mouth formed the word thanks, and he turned, one hand to his neck, pulling his tiny lapels tight up about his convulsing throat, the other hand clenching the silver dime secretly. Looking back, he gave a little nod, and then Scores of dozens of compressed and tortured faces, burnt a strange, dark color by the lights, wandered in the glassy corridors.
Ralph, what's going on?
I'm being benevolent, Amy. Benevolent.
Ralph?
Shh. Listen.
Ralph? Ralph, what's happening?
No! Come on! I'll show you!
There was another scream, and another, and still another, and a threshing and a pounding and a breaking, a rushing around and through the maze. There, wildly colliding and ricocheting from mirror to mirror, shrieking hysterically and sobbing, tears on his face, mouth gasped open. Mr. Bigelow fell out in the blazing night air, glanced about wildly, wailed, and ran off down the pier. And then I was in the maze, rushed from white-hot mirror to mirror, seeing my lipstick all red fire 1,000 times repeated on down a burning silver cavern, where strange, hysterical women, much like myself, followed a quick-moving, smiling man.
Ralph! Oh, God, why did you do it?
We both stood in the threshold of the little room where the dwarf had come every night for a year. We both stood where the dwarf had stood each night before opening his eyes to see the miraculous image in front of him. The mirror had been changed. This new mirror made even normal people small. It made even tall people little and dark and twisted, smaller as you moved forward. And I stood before it, thinking that if it made big people small standing here, God, what would it do to a dwarf? A tiny dwarf, a dark dwarf, a startled and lonely dwarf. I turned and almost fell. Ralph still looking at me.
Ralph! Oh, God, why did you do it?
Amy! Come back!
I ran out through the mirrors, crying, staring with blurred eyes. It was hard to find the way, but I found it. I stood blinking at the empty pier. Started to run. One way, then another, then still another, then stopped. Ralph came up behind me, talking. It was like a voice heard behind a wall late at night, remote, foreign.
Don't talk to me!
Hey! Any of you see little guy just now? A little swift the pistol from my place. And it's loaded. And he ran up before I get a hand on him. You want to help me find him? Huh? Amy, where are you going? Come back!
I guess I'm gonna find him.
You won't be able to do nothing.
I gotta try anyway. Oh God, Rolf, this is all my fault. I shouldn't have phoned Billy Fight. I shouldn't have ordered a mirror and got you so mad you did this. It's me should have got to Mr. Big, not a crazy thing like I bought. I'm gonna find him if it's the last thing I ever do in my life.
Swinging about slowly, my cheeks wet, I saw the quivery mirrors that stood in front of the maze. Ralph's reflection was in one of them. I couldn't take my eyes away from the image. It held me in a cool and trembling fascination, with my mouth open.
Amy, what's wrong? What are you?
He sensed where I was looking and twisted about to see what was going on. His eyes widened. He scowled at the blazing mirror. A horrid, ugly little man, 2 feet high, with a pale, squashed face under an ancient straw hat, scowled back at him. Ralph stood there, glaring at himself, his hands at his sides. I walked slowly, and then began to walk fast, and then began to run. I ran down the empty pier, and the wind blew warm, and it blew large drops of hot rain out of the sky onto me all the time I was running.
House of Mystery brought you Ray Bradbury's The Dwarf, featuring Huwaida Surur and Ibrahim Al-Yordani. House of Mystery is brought to you by Tariq Sharara. Sound engineer Nuruddin.